Thank you, Rebecca, and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Proteus Pitch Finale. My name is Lisa Chiquetto, and I'm the Executive Director of Western Research here at the University of Western Ontario, and I have the pleasure of being your host today. Dr. Suzanne Armstrong, who's the Executive Director of World Discoveries, unfortunately couldn't be here with us today, but sends along her very best wishes to all the teams, along with best of luck. Before we officially get started, I'd like to provide a few housekeeping notes. First of all, we kindly ask that you keep your microphones muted during the event. Also, during the pitch presentations, all teams will have 5 minutes to answer your questions following their presentation. If you do have a question, please post it in the chat. Questions will be answered in the order in which they are received. I'm going to now kick us off with a land acknowledgement. I know we have guests and participants from across Ontario, and while I recognize that this is a virtual gathering with attendees from various locations, the acknowledgement I'm sharing today represents the land I am currently situated on here in London, Ontario. I invite each of you to take a moment to reflect and acknowledge the land you find yourself on today. In recognizing the location of Western University, I acknowledge that the university is located on the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, the Lenape, and Trenton Nations, on lands connected with the London Township and Sombra Treaties of 1796 and the Dish with One Spoon Covenant Wampum. This land continues to be home to diverse Indigenous peoples, First Nations, Métis, and Inuit, whom we recognize as contemporary stewards of the land and vital contributors of our society. Today we are gathered for the 9th year of the Proteus Innovation Competition, alongside our funding and competition partners, which include Tech Alliance of Southwestern Ontario, World Discoveries, the Western Research Parks, and the Western Morrisett Institute for Entrepreneurship. We are delighted to welcome the CEO of Tech Alliance, Christina Fox, to say a few words.
Thanks so much, Lisa. Tech Alliance is the place for dreamers, innovators, and world-changing ideas. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Christina Fox. I'm the CEO at Tech Alliance. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm really thrilled to join you this afternoon. At Tech Alliance, we empower world-class ventures and fuel growth in Canada's innovation economy, and we champion and coach entrepreneurs, amplify businesses, and create a vibrant technology community for everybody. As a founding partner of Proteus Innovation Competition with World Discoveries, we aim to grow and strengthen collaborative experiences between academics and commerce, research and businesses, institutions and community, really for the benefit of all. Continuing to build on the momentum as a vital resource for technology innovators, tech talent, and industry leaders, our team knows that innovation brings exceptional people together, just like we are today with the Proteus Innovation Competition. As shared earlier, today marks the finale of the 4-month process that saw innovators developing commercialization plans for several genius technologies, and we believe that this kind of collaboration is quite fundamental to every part of Proteus, from the planning team that's organized each of the elements of the competition to the commercialization and tech transfer offices and researchers at each of the partnering universities. And of course, to our supporters and sponsors, each of you play a really vital role in making Proteus Innovation Competition possible. And so for the competitors, I hope you also saw this as a really terrific opportunity to learn more about launching a startup by creating a business plan, generating, commercializing, and protecting your intellectual property, and of course, turning this into your business venture. In a world where innovation is critical, I'm equally excited to see just how far you've progressed and to celebrate the winners of Proteus Innovation Competition. Enjoy this experience, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thanks so much, Christina, for those encouraging words. I would now like to call upon our esteemed guest, Dr. Karim, who is the Associate Vice President, Commercialization and Entrepreneurship at the University of Waterloo, to officially open our event. Over to you, Dr. Karim.
Thanks very much, Lisa, for that kind introduction. And Christina, thanks also for introducing Proteus. I'll just start by saying thank you for having me here. And I want to spend just a minute kind of explaining how my role kind of fits into the entrepreneurship ecosystem at Waterloo. So the University of Waterloo has a number of units that are involved in commercialization. And about 2 years back, the university decided to try and add a focal point that would help coordination amongst the different units. And so by different units, I mean Velocity, Watco, and we've also got things like Greenhouse, the Peace Incubator. We've got obviously a new subunit in thought leadership and also on social impact. And so Waterloo Ventures is the office, and it's housed in the Office of Research, and it plays a coordinating function in bringing all of these units together so we can kind of amplify our impact. Now, I also wanted to take a minute and just kind of acknowledge the 9th year of Proteus. This is, of course, very commendable that this competition has been around for a while. I think it's really important that competitions like Proteus continue to bring people together, to inspire, to cultivate this new generation of innovators, but also it allows everybody a chance to get showcased. As you know, in entrepreneurship, at some point your journey is going to involve trying to find financing for your company. And so having something like Proteus under your belt is extremely valuable because it allows you to stand out, and people will take a second look. So I think it's really important that we continue to do competitions like Proteus, and obviously I encourage even more of these valuable initiatives. The Ontario, of course, is a great hub of innovation, and there's lots and lots of companies in this ecosystem that have come from the universities in this ecosystem. And so, I mean, I can go over lots of them, but I can probably mention a few from our own neck in the woods, like Fluid AI or IntelliJoint or High IV or Cobionics and whatnot. And I'm sure the ones today are also quite exciting. So I really look forward to actually seeing how everybody does, how everybody performs. In advance, I'd like to thank all the judges for their time. I know this type of work is time consuming and it's a very giving task. And so really thank you for actually giving your time and helping these young startups get an opportunity to showcase and learn from everybody else. Obviously, to the participants, thank you for the time for participating. I think obviously it's you folks who make competitions like Proteus what they are. And then obviously if one of you go on to become a unicorn, then we can always look back and say that Proteus is where you were found. So good luck to everybody, and I'll pass it back to the organizer, to Lisa.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Karim. Really appreciate you highlighting the value that competitions like Proteus bring to everyone involved. We are so fortunate to have built strong partnerships around this competition, including our university partners, which include the University of Waterloo, McMaster University, Wilfrid Laurier University, the University of Windsor. I want to thank our collaborators and partners who have been working with us to bring this year's competition to our provincial innovation and entrepreneurial communities. Also, a huge thank you to all of our sponsors whose financial contributions to this event supports the prizes for the competition winners. This year's sponsors include Gowlings, WLG, Bearskin and Parr, and Western University's Faculty of Engineering and Faculty of Science. We thank you for your support of local talent and for your continued investment in innovation, entrepreneurship, and technology advancement in Southwestern Ontario. So now, without further ado, I'd like to present our round one judges who will be evaluating our competitors' pitches. Today, we are pleased to welcome Derek Shepard, who's the associate at Gowlings, Lisa Schellenberg, who's a national manager at 3M Healthcare, and Gwen O'Hara, who's a business development manager at Fluid AI. Welcome, judges. Okay, we are now ready to move ahead with round one of our pitches. So to kick us off, in round one, we're going to have 3 universities that are competing: Western University's technology, Wilfrid Laurier's technology, and the University of Windsor's technology. So we have 2 finalists from the University of Western Ontario. Team number 1, who is Aqua Shift, and team number 2, who is Aqua Fem Innovators. So just as a reminder, there will be a 5 minutes question and answer period after each of the presentations. Okay, and so we will be helping to facilitate that question period after the pitch. So I think we are now ready to move ahead with team number 1, Aqua Shift. I'm looking forward to hearing these pitches.
Thank you, Lisa. I just want to remind AquaShip that I will hold up my finger to let you know there's 1 minute left in your pitch, because as you know, there's a 5-minute time limit for the pitch itself. So Aditi and your team, can you try sharing and see if you're okay to share? Please.
Yeah, let me give it a try. Are you able to see my screen?
Yep, we can see your screen, and then I think you'll just want to be in presentation mode.
Perfect. Is this good? Everyone
It
can
looks
see
great.
it?
Yep, we
Perfect.
can. Awesome. Okay, so whenever you're ready.
Welcome to AquaShift, where we're redefining water purity in cosmetics. Today, we're thrilled to show you how our breakthrough technology isn't just meeting industry's thirst for sustainability, it's quenching it. I'd like to introduce the membranes behind it all. We blend together engineering, politics, scientific, and business perspectives while being driven by a common mission, and that is to innovate water purification for cosmetics. Now, what you may not realize is that the cosmetics industry is facing a water security crisis. Freshwater resources are increasingly unreliable, and saltwater simply costs too much to filter nowadays. This threatens both production and sustainability standards in the industry. In fact, water actually constitutes 60 to 85% of all beauty products, equating to almost 120 billion waters processed annually. There is clearly a need for water purification solution that can provide reliable access to high quality resources. Now, let's take a look at Lori from L'Oreal, for example. She's the research and development director, and she's driving innovation by creating the first closed loop water cycle in her manufacturing plant. She's faced many challenges, including high costs and energy usage in terms of technological advancements. L'Oreal is just one of many initial adopter organizations we identified at the forefront of water sustainability in this $180 billion industry. There's a clear mission realignment across the industry as seen by the 12.5 year-over-year growth and clean manufacturers. But I'm really wondering, Olivia, could you tell me a little bit more about how these companies can feasibly shift their water practices in cosmetics?
Absolutely, I can. Our solution, AquaShift, leverages graphene membranes, just one layer, a single atom thick, arranged in a hexagonal lattice, as you can see here. This technology is easily integrated into current filtration systems, enabling efficient filtration of brackish and salt water, transforming previously unusable sources into high-quality, purified water. This significantly reduces the cosmetic industry's freshwater footprint, which is addressing a core problem. We can match the needs of the shifting clean beauty industry by ensuring a consistent supply of high-quality water with both efficiency and sustainability. Graphene's extraordinary thinness and mechanical energy allow it to be used in a high-precision application while simultaneously withstanding high-stress uses for longer periods than our traditional polymeric membranes. Its unique chemical affinity allows for the filtering of unwanted salts, metals, organic compounds, microplastics, and even microbes down to the smallest particulate, making it ideal for its use in the cosmetic industry. The numbers behind this just don't lie. Traditionally, producing just a single cubic meter of pure water can require a staggering 3 to 10 kilowatts per hour of electrical energy. This process is thus not only resource intensive, but incredibly unsustainable. AquaShift comparatively reduces energy costs by up to 70% and offers durability that could extend the membrane's life by up to 20 years. In all scenarios, graphene is proven to excel where all others fall short, standing distinct in the market. Traditional RO membranes and activated carbon filters fall short in both filtration quality and lifespan, not to mention the hefty energy bills. AquaShift's graphene membranes, on the other hand, slash pressure needs 33 times over, pocketing companies $35,000 daily in savings. AquaShift also leaps ahead with significant enhancements that set us apart. We are right in tune with the $120 billion cosmetic industry's pivot towards greener, more ethical production. While giants like L'Oreal and Procter & Gamble have dreamed of ditching water use entirely, that's a tall order for the rest. Enter AquaShift, a practical, cost-effective, easy-to-implement way to embrace eco-friendliness without the extreme. So, Jacqueline, maybe you can tell me how we can bring this vision to life.
Absolutely. Our market entry starts with key research and $30,000 budget in stage 1. In stage 2, we trial our water filtration technology with one mid-sized client, leading to projected revenues of $32,000. By stage 3, with operational support from the Linamar manufacturing company, we're projecting revenues to hit $512,000 as our unit price moves to $4,000. Wondering how we'll capture these customers? First, we raise awareness. Our marketing campaigns and industry outreach highlight our unique selling points. Then we captivate interest. Through on-site engagement, we demonstrate our product and provide operational support and initial assessments. Next, evaluation. Companies test our system, conduct cost-benefit analyses, and see real savings in action. We will focus heavily on strong feedback loops with our client, providing maintenance as needed. And finally, adoption. With satisfied customers leading the charge, our technology becomes the new standard.
Thank you. And with that, we just want to share that the future for this industry isn't just bright, but it's beautiful. And at this point, we're ready to take any of the questions you might have.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What about the manufacturing of this AquaShift product? What have you done to identify how that the cost of this device will come into play?
Yeah, I can take that one. So, sorry. For the manufacturing themselves, we found 2 different companies that we're going to partner with. The first one is Graphene Layers, and they're just a graphene manufacturer that focuses on filtration. So we'll be working with them for the actual membrane manufacturing. And then for the case that it goes in, we're going to be working with Linamar. A few of us on the team have connections with Linamar already. So we reached out to their director of innovation to talk about the assembly process. So they'll be assembling everything together, as well as our storage and distribution centers. And then for the price, we actually found a graphene membrane manufacturer called Pneumatic, and they currently manufacture ones just that don't look at salt water. And he really helped us figure out the price and the cost of how much we estimate it will cost to manufacture, as well as he helped us pick our selling prices.
Thank you.
And we have a question in the chat from one of our judges, Lori. And how long does the graphene membrane last?
Yeah, so I can take that one. So although it's still in early stages, but it's hypothesized to last about 20 years, which is significantly increased from the 3 years of normal membranes. Yeah, so as you can see here, it's compared to 1 year for carbon filters, 5 years for RO membranes, 2 years for UV. Ours is expected to be around 20 years. So it's very durable.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from judges?
Yeah, I got one question. First of all, thank you. Great presentation. I was just wondering about any intellectual property rights you have in relation to your device.
Yeah. Sorry, just trying to navigate the screen sharing here. In terms of intellectual property, I believe Western currently owns the IP for the technology behind AquaShift. So that's the graphene membranes that we talked about. In terms of going to market, part of our marketing strategy is that initial research. So working with a lab at Western University to be able to build and develop the product. And part of that process will also be researching whether it makes sense to go through an IP for the entire system as a whole, or if the IP that Western University currently holds is enough to hold the technology up in terms of protecting the intellectual property.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for your question.
We have a minute left if anyone wants to squeeze in another question. Nope. Okay then.
All right, thank you so much, AquaShift. That was a fantastic presentation. All right, next up, we have AquaFem Innovators, and I can't wait to see your approach to this technology.
Hi, Sabina, you want to see if you can share?
Can you all see our screen?
We can, and now if you go in presentation mode. Perfect,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, only altered in its form. In the face of the world energy crisis, we are excited to present to you Graph PureTech, an innovative, energy-efficient water treatment technology. Water filtration systems are utilized across a wide range of industries to ensure the quality and purity of water. Globally, industries filter billions of gallons of water daily. Up to 10 kilowatts of energy is used to filter 1 cubic meter of water, resulting in over $1 billion on energy expenditures annually. Industries face a pressing problem of meeting strict water quality regulations without incurring excessively high energy costs, and therefore there is a need for more energy-efficient water filtration systems. Reverse osmosis is an existing and widely used water filtration technology which offers the highest filtration efficiency. Reverse osmosis works by applying high pressure to one side of a semi-permeable membrane to force water molecules through, leaving behind all the rest. This total removal leads to elimination of both harmful substances, but also essential minerals. Moreover, reverse osmosis leads to substantial energy inputs, high operational costs, and high carbon emissions. With that, reverse osmosis doesn't solve the problem of high energy costs faced by industries. Our solution is Graph PureTech, a unique nanofiltration membrane. Its innovative design reduces energy requirements by 70% due to low pressure requirements, while maintaining filtration efficiency by selective removal of contaminants, providing cleaner water at a lower cost and reducing environmental impact. Graph PureTech competitive advantage is the use of graphene, which is an incredibly thin material and therefore allows water to pass through the membrane with minimal energy cost. Our patented 3-step fabrication process includes placing graphene on Teflon support, waterproofing the system, and then creating nanopores of a specific size of only a couple of microns to ensure high water filtration efficiency.
The reverse osmosis membrane market is projected to reach $7.7 billion by 2030, growing 10% annually. And North America is expected to contribute 36% to this growth. We aim to capitalize on this opportunity in key sectors like agriculture, pharmaceuticals, automotive, and food and beverage, but targeting the pharmaceutical industry first because we know they have higher energy demands compared to others. We will form a startup company and run the business out of the startup through a B2B business model. Our target customers are membrane providers, and our focus is to partner with industry leaders in Canada first before expanding worldwide. Let me walk you through a scenario to illustrate how our B2B model works. Let's say a membrane filtration provider like 3M
wishes to expand their portfolio driven by evolving customer demands, we would reach out to work with them and design an industry-specific graphene membrane and charge a custom method fee for this. Once the customized protocol is established, we will grant a field of use license to the provider to manufacture and sell the technology, and we will collect 4 to 7% royalties. Finally, as an add-on service, we will offer the provider technical support to ensure a seamless integration into existing filtration models. Employing these 3 streams of revenue will minimize time to revenue, and this approach facilitates rapid market penetration with minimal production and distribution costs. For our marketing strategy, we will establish strong partnerships with membrane providers through direct sales, while also creating demonstration kits and participating in trade shows to showcase our technology and attract customers. To substantiate our financial projections, our go-to-market strategy begins with securing funds and launching marketing campaigns in year 1. In year 2, we will sign initial clients, thereby starting to generate revenue through method development. In year 3, we will begin generating revenue from licensing and support services, and we aim to turn a profit. Year 4 and 5 will be dedicated to scaling operations and securing long-term contracts, having established a strong reputation on the market. Our multidisciplinary team brings a wealth of experience, and we are determined not only to lead this venture to financial success, but also tackle 2 of the world's most critical challenges, water quality and energy consumption. We are seeking $50,000, which will be used to launch our marketing campaigns. Our mission is to have a world where access to clean water is no longer a challenge, and thank you for listening. Remember, energy cannot be created, but opportunities can.
Okay, thank you, Aquafem Innovators. Are there any questions? Judges or in the audience, please feel free to add in the chat.
Helpful. I just don't know if I should always be first. I was a bit caught up on that second or third slide where I love that you did the comparison with reverse osmosis, but the word selective, how do I know that this is going to be enough, if you're selecting enough for the quality that I'm really requiring?
That is an excellent question. And what our competitors did not necessarily mention is that reverse osmosis and nanofiltration are different, but they're very, very similar in the sense that they're both able to select things of a micron, a nanometer size. So in particular, the selective removal depends on the pore size of the graphene membrane. And the advantage that this technology has is that we can actually have versatility and customizability by using the specific nanomaterials to create that pore size. And that's why we thought really the advantage of this technology is its customizability, and that's why we really leaned into that. So by selective, that would be what are the demands of the industry, what is needed by our customer, and then we will work together and create that solution depending on what they need. Yeah. Just to add to that briefly, so the last step of the fabrication process is placing this nanopores to create nanopores, and the size of this nanopores is customizable because the nanomaterial that we use for etching to create these pores can be different depending on the size of the pores that we want to create. And that's why part of our strategy and go-to-market strategy is to develop this customized method for each industry demand.
Thanks.
Okay, I've had a question come in the chat to me, and so I'm going to ask it now. Can you please tell us, how does the rate and or space efficiency of filtration compare to reverse osmosis? Sounds very technical, so I hope you understood the question better than I do.
So I heard rate and space of the compared to.
Sorry, I'll repeat the question.
Okay.
How does the rate and or efficiency of filtration compare to reverse osmosis?
I would say that is because it's a selective removal and the nanofiltration micropores are a little bit larger even though it's on just a 0.5 nanomicrons larger than the reverse osmosis, then it would allow the higher rate.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully that addressed the question there. Are there any other questions?
I have a question as well. I'm curious how your technology would integrate into or totally replace what's currently happening in the industry with water filtration. Is this a totally new process, or can this integrate with what's currently out there?
That's a great question. So this technology is integratable into existing technologies in the sense that we can create that membrane into a filter that can fit into any filtration technology that uses a dead end filtration flow.
Thank you.
Okay, I see another question in the chat. What if major companies, I'm assuming like 3M, don't adopting your technology? How will your business work without their support? So what are sort of your contingency plans? I guess?
That's an excellent question. So as we mentioned, we have 706 providers just in Canada, right? And that's where we're starting. We're going to go worldwide. But in Canada, these 706 providers, they are also opportunities as well. We're targeting 3M because these larger companies have both manufacturers and selling capacity to directly target those end users. But we understand not everyone has a manufacturing facility. So what we can do is we can target providers that provide this technology, partner with them, and then we can also hire a manufacturer if we need to pivot in that direction. And that way we can also license the technology so that they can sell it to their end user.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad to see you plan in place. That's fantastic. All righty. Any other questions? How are we doing on time?
Time is up.
Okay. Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you. All right. We are now going to move forward with the technologies and finalists from Wilfrid Laurier University. So here the two teams are, the first one is VR Evangelists, and the second is Innovate Mental VR. Okay. Our VR to go.
Dylan, Monica, great.
Hi, Jennifer.
Yes, let me just share my screen real quick.
Sure.
Can you see it?
Yes, we can see the slides. Thank you.
Great. So, hi, we
Sorry,
are the
can you
VR
show
evangelists.
yourself? Can you show yourself?
Sorry? Oh, yeah, sorry.
Thanks.
Right? Hi, we are the VR evangelists, and our mission is to build safer communities using virtual reality. It doesn't take an expert to see dominating headlines are cases involving race inequality and police brutality. Officers are criminally underprepared to deal with uprising issues and mental health crises. 80% of fatal encounters involve a PMI, or person suffering from mental illness. In Canada, 25% of inmates are Indigenous, but they only represent 4% of the population. One news article even cited Canadian prisons as the new residential schools. Following the Black Lives Matter movement, departments saw an 18% increase in resignations and a 45% increase in retirements. The urgency to get officers out on the field have left police stations open to misconduct lawsuits that could have been mitigated with proper training. In 2022, NYPD paid over $120 million in lawsuits. In a move to tackle the shortage of police officers, Ontarians spent $34 million to provide free tuition for basic constable training. So here's a breakdown of your average police training requirements. 24 hours allocated to first aid, 14 to ethics and integrity, and a whopping 71 hours are dedicated to use of force training. What we wish to address is a missing component found here in the ethical training section. What's apparent when we examine this ethical training is the lack of standardized bias conscious and de-escalation training platforms. This led us to developing the VR MHCRT, or the Virtual Reality Mental Health Crisis Response Training Program, a scenario-based program designed to foster training as a means against use of force. Dr. Jennifer Lafoy invented the trademarked Depict assessment tool. Professor at Laurier University specializes in forensic psychology and criminology and served in the Canadian military. DEPICT is a way to evaluate officers that run through the VR mental health CRT and ensure that they've been trained to a standard backed by scientific research. With our partnership with Street Smarts VR, we're able to use equipment that mirrors the weight and feel of police toolkits. It is about trying to foster muscle memory and reflexive, appropriate responses under pressure. Dr. Lavoie adopted the design thinking approach. Unlike most de-escalation programs, she started by conducting focus groups between police officers and persons with mental illnesses who experience discrimination at the hands of the police. This crucial empathy informed her decision-making at every stage of development. And the results, scenarios that are backed by clinical research, mimic real-life situations and foster appropriate de-escalation skills. Other companies that are trying to implement this are Axon and Inveris. Axon is a taser-making company, and their goal is to transition from the lethal uses of force to using tasers instead. Inveris, they boast a 30% reduction to police misconduct, but they have no standardized curriculum and no feedback from PMIs. And this can actually reinforce biases and perpetuate the problems we're trying to solve. The total addressable market for VR training and simulation is $9.1 billion. The serviceable addressable market is $4.9 billion, and this covers the police and military VR training. The SOM is going to be at $1.3 billion, and this is going to cover the police de-escalation training. So through our research, we found that there's a big divide in the use of research in policing. Many officers rely on the experience of older, more seasoned members of the force. So to break through this stigma, Dr. Lavoie actually incorporated something called champions. And these champions are people that love the idea of research and want to use it in the force today. So we're going to use them to break into these local communities and the police departments.
Yep, next slide. Sorry, the past slide. So our team has anecdotal business development and procurement experience from similar training products that were created for firefighters. VR training that was created for firefighters. And I was initially involved in this project at the University of Waterloo with a professor. So we have a similar business product roadmap that we can follow. So for the first market, we should be approaching the US market. So after speaking with Dr. John Munoz, who's an engineering professor at the University of Waterloo, and also the chief scientific officer at JNF Alliance Group, there's actually a $90 million government grant from LEGTA, which is Law Enforcement Deactivation Act, where there is actual grant money allotted from the US government. Right now in the States, there's actually 700,000 police officers, and there's only 700 police officers in Canada. So yes. Next one, for the first to market, what we propose is that we have an experienced grant writing team that will write the grants for these particular police forces so that they do not need to have any out-of-pocket cost when they engage with us, with our company, to have this to have these what is it called, services. Let's see the next slide. After having this grant, after having success with 5 to 10 pilot agencies in the States, the reason why we choose the agencies in the States is because there's less layers of agencies that we have to deal with in terms of approvals. Once we get the success, we will bring this back to the Canadian market, which will be ripe for engagement due to the Comprehensive Ontario Police Services Act. And Jennifer Lavoie has many connections within the regional police, and we will successfully be able to deploy this training to our Canadian officers. Next.
Sorry, Monica, I hate to cut you off, but your time is up. And so to be fair to our other teams, we're going to sort of turn it over to questions at this point, okay?
Sure. Great.
Yeah, thank you both so much. So judges or audience members, are there any questions?
Would you like to know about our business model, how we are going to be deploying this, any information, additional information about our revenue model?
So I think there's a question in the chat. Do you have a recurring revenue model? Which I think is the slide right here.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. So we will have 2 streams of model. For example, the annual subscription to the training scenarios that was actually presented from that's currently existing with Jennifer's connections with the VR company that she's working with. For the certification system, we want to have two streams where we have the actual trainer certification and both the individual police officer certification. And these costs actually comes from the previous project that I was involved in with the VR fire prevention project.
Hey, Monica, I have a question for your team. Has this sort of been utilized in practice to date? So has it been tried out?
Currently, Jennifer has engaged multiple agencies and also a police academy, and she's currently doing additional testing with these academy, and it's in yes. So these are being pilot tested locally in Ontario.
Great. Thank you for that. Okay, I see there's a question in the chat. So the question is, what is your basis for the serviceable obtainable market, or SOM?
That one is actually that entire funding actually comes from the LEDTA Act, which is the funding that comes from the US government. So that's a complete de-escalation, police de-escalation funding.
Additionally, we have to consider the amount of lawsuits that companies set aside, like the amount of money that the police departments are setting aside currently to try to tackle all these lawsuits, right? I said earlier that $120 million NYPD, right? All these kind of police departments, it's kind of sad. They all have a certain amount of money set aside for lawsuits like this. And if we can decrease that amount, we're going to address that whole market, which we know is there because it's said in our government.
Yeah, apart from that, we don't really care about the money. We want to save lives. Lives can't be bought. Yeah, and doesn't matter what happens in the future. Both Dylan and us will continue to work with both Jennifer and John from our university to make sure that this comes into fruition and this appears in all the police training in our area.
Great. It's very inspirational, both Monica and Dylan. Rebecca, how are we doing on time?
We have a minute left.
Okay. Any final questions for VR evangelists? Oh, perfect. Another question has come up. What do you do about those who can't use VR, like people with vision or sensory issues? Oh, great question.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I can take that. So the one thing
can you go to the last slide with where group pictures? We have another. Yeah. Perfect, thank you.
So one thing about police is they actually have a screening beforehand, right? That's going to help mitigate the amount of people we know for sure who can't use VR. The other option is through Dr. John Munoz. He deals with live actors, right? So he's already in the process of developing a training center to bring participants inside a training center real time and to address them like that and teach them, making sure they're backed by clinical research and experts there to watch them the entire time. So that's the other option.
And this is using Dr. Jennifer Lavoie's script. So she will have licensing agreement with this company.
Hey, thank you, VR Evangelist. That's great.
Okay,
Next up, we have Innovate Mental VR. All right, I see somebody waving at me. Looks like
Loris?
Here.
That is me. Hello, guys.
Hi, Loris.
Good to finally meet you all. I'm just gonna pull up my my slide. There we are. Can everyone see and hear me well?
Looks good, thank you.
All right, everyone. Imagine a world where healthcare professionals are not just trained, but also emotionally attuned to the mental health crises they encounter. Facing the challenge of traditional training methods that often provide theoretical knowledge without the necessary emotional engagement or immersive realism, leading to a gap in their ability to understand and respond to those in distress empathetically. Innovate Mental VR, or lovingly, Innovate merges VR technology with audiosonic resonance to revolutionize mental health crises training. There is a rift with healthcare professionals and scenarios that elicit genuine emotional responses and foster empathy and understanding of mental health struggles. More than a training tool, Innovate is a catalyst for new training methods, equipping professionals with the skills and insights to significantly improve patient care outcomes through empathetic and effective care enabled by this innovative technology. Innovate presents a meticulously designed state-of-the-art VR training tool that integrates cutting-edge VR technology with audiosonic resonance, creating a fully immersive learning environment to simulate real-world mental health crises with unparalleled authenticity, enabling healthcare professionals to experience these scenarios realistically while invoking specific emotional responses through sound frequencies and vibrations that mirror the psychological states of individuals in a crisis. Innovate distinguishes itself by utilizing audiosonic resonance in VR environments to evoke deep emotional resonance, transcending traditional VR training with auditory dimension that laps into the human response to music and sound, thus enhancing simulation realism. Leveraging sound's psychosomatic effects to foster genuine emotional connection and empathy, and positioning Innovate as a pioneering tool in mental health crisis training, poised to transform how healthcare professionals prepare for their complex roles. The primary to market for Innovate, which targets healthcare institutions, psychiatric facilities, educational establishments, and professional developed programs for medical and psychological professionals, is critical as the demand for innovative mental health training solutions peaks globally. Driven by the rise in mental health issues and the recognition of early empathetic intervention, your involvement in Innovate is timely and crucial in addressing this urgent need. Innovate Mental VR stands poised to transform the mental health crisis response training landscape by integrating VR technology with audiosonic resonance, offering immersive and emotionally engaging methods that promise to improve patient care outcomes and training efficiency, setting a new standard in global mental health crises training. As I seek individuals passionate about transforming mental health care, this invitation extends to join a journey that combines technology, empathy, and education, aiming to make Innovate a cornerstone in healthcare training and significantly impact mental well-being worldwide, thereby enhancing the capabilities of healthcare professionals and the care received by individuals in crises. Thank you very much, and I'm open to questioning.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to call it Team Innovate as well, if that's okay. And
Of course.
Are there any questions for Team Innovate?
Who's going to buy it? I've never met a hospital that has a training budget or any other type of institution. And so I feel like the only place that training is going to happen is at an educational facility. So is it going to be the University of Western Ontario that's going to buy it, or will it be a purchase made by an individual? Just talk to me more about that commercialization pathway.
So in today's healthcare landscape, it's understandable to question budget availability for new technologies like Innovate Mental VR. However, the investment in such a tool should be viewed through the lens of long-term benefits and cost savings, rather. Innovate is not just a product, but a transformative solution that can lead to improved patient outcomes, reduce long-term healthcare costs, and enhance staff training efficiency. Firstly, the growing recognition of mental health's critical role and overall healthcare emphasizes the need for effective training solutions. Innovate offers an advanced immersive experience that can significantly improve the skills and empathy of healthcare professionals, linked to better patient care and potentially reducing cost readmissions or longer term treatments. Furthermore, more healthcare institutions, educational bodies, and professional development programs allocate budgets for innovative training and educational tools, especially those demonstrating clear ROI in terms of improved healthcare quality and staff performance. Innovate's unique approach, combining VR with audio sonic resonance, position it as a pioneering tool that can attract funding, grants, or investments, particularly in sectors prioritizing mental health and technological advancements and training methodologies. Additionally, the cost of Innovate can be offset by the potential savings it offers, such as reducing the need for physical training facilities, minimizing travel expenses for training, and decreasing the time professionals are away from their work for education purposes. While immediate budget constraints are a valid concern, the investment in Innovate should be considered in the context of its strategic importance to future-proofing healthcare training, its potential to attract dedicated funding, and its capacity to save costs and improve care in the long run. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Loris. We have another question in the chat. Has the audio sonic resonance program been developed and prototyped? What is the evidence that audio sonic resonance increases empathy?
One moment.
Yeah, no problem.
So I'm just thinking, the prototype of Innovate leverages the concept of audio sonic resonance to enhance empathy among healthcare professionals. This is based on the theory that sound frequencies and vibrations can affect the human brain and body in profound ways, influencing emotions and cognitive states. In our prototype, or mine rather, because I don't have any teammates at the moment, I have implemented audio sonic resonance to create a range of soundscapes and auditory environments that mimic real-life mental health scenarios. Through immersive VR experiences, healthcare professionals are exposed to scenarios where they are not only see and interact with patients in crises, but also hear and feel the emotional turmoil through audio sonic resonance. This multisensory experience is designed to deepen the user's emotional connection with the scenario, fostering a greater understanding of the patient's experience. The theoretical underpinning for this approach comes from psychosomatic medicine, which explores the connection between mind, body, and emotions. By engaging with these immersive experiences, professionals are expected to develop a heightened sense of empathy, improving their ability to connect with patients and understand their mental and emotional states. Preliminary feedback from this prototype testing can indicate that experiences significant increase in empathetic understanding. This could be measured through self-report questionnaires and psychological indicators, such as heart rate and skin conductance, which reflect emotional engagement and empathy. And in summary, the audio sonic resonance feature of Innovate is a critical component in my mission to enhance empathy in mental health crises training. It's designed to bridge the gap between theoretical knowledge and emotional understanding, leading to a more compassionate and effective patient care. Thank you.
And that's time, Lisa.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Team Mental VR. All right,
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Loris. That brings us to the end of the competitions for Wilfrid Laurier, and we are now moving to the third university technologies from the University of Windsor. And our two finalists here are Aerovate Innovations, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and Team Sleep. Okay, do we have our Aerovate Innovations team ready to go? Somebody?
Yes.
Amina and Esma.
Can you hear me?
And
Can you hear me?
yes, we can hear you, Amina.
Awesome. Perfect. Yep. We're ready to go.
Great. Do you want to test your sharing there?
Yep. Can you see it?
Yes, perfect.
Beauty.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Do I just start whenever?
Yes, whenever you're ready.
Awesome. Okay. Well, good afternoon, esteemed judges and audience members. My name is Amina, and I am from Team Aerovate Innovations, and we're extremely excited to present our revolutionary product, a wearable multi-sensor patch for breathing pattern recognition. I first want you to imagine a world where every breath tells a story not just of life and living, but of health, vitality, and the silent whispers of our body's inner workings. Now, imagine someone close to you, struggling with a chronic respiratory condition. Every breath they take is a battle, a moment filled with worry and a constant need for vigilance. The stress is palpable, not just for them, but for everyone who cares. And in our world, this isn't a rare scenario. Millions globally live this reality every day, their lives tethered to bulky, invasive, and often inaccurate devices that monitor their respiratory health. In Canada alone, 1 in 5 individuals suffer from serious respiratory disease. This highlights a vast need for improved respiratory monitoring solutions. Current technologies fail to offer the simplicity, comfort, and precision needed. And so the question arises, why, in an age of technological advancement, are we still relying on methods that fall short? Our communities deserve better, a solution that does not force them to choose between convenience and reliability. Our solution is the Aerovate Wearable Patch, a compact, non-invasive device equipped with multiple sensors to ensure high sensitivity and reliability. It's designed for everyday use, offering a seamless way to monitor respiratory health without sacrificing comfort or accuracy. This product represents a significant advancement from the pilot studies, boasting advanced prototyping and intellectual property protection, with 3 patents pending and 1 published. In a market filled with alternatives, our wearable patch stands out. We've identified polysomnography as the clinical gold standard, yet it's expensive and complex, with patients needing to go in person to these clinics to complete these actions. And actigraphy, while popular in our Apple Watches and Samsung watches, lacks accuracy. Our Aerovate patch fills this gap, offering the convenience and non-invasiveness of actigraphy with the accuracy and reliability of the gold standard, as determined by our preliminary studies. The potential market for this product is vast and growing. With the respiratory device market and wearable medical devices sectors expanding rapidly, we are at the cusp of tapping into significant demand. The numbers don't lie. Our technology serves 2 critical groups: healthcare professionals in search of reliable, non-invasive monitoring tools, and individuals, especially those with chronic respiratory conditions that are in need of an easy-to-use home monitoring solution. We particularly want to focus on these end users to unlock new cases and extend our research base before entering the healthcare system. Our commercialization strategy is robust, spanning from finalizing the prototype and securing initial seed funding in the first year to navigating through regulatory approvals and initiating manufacturing phases. Embarking on a journey this year, Team Aerovate's wearable multi-sensor patch enters prototype refinement. And if we obtain this $500,000 investment, next year we can start clinical trials, putting our technology into the hands of those who need it most, while rigorously pursuing regulatory approvals. With an additional $1.7 million in funding for year 2, we'll broaden our scope to include healthcare providers, essential partners in technology adoption. By year 3 to 4, we'll scale manufacturing supported by a further investment, preparing us for a full market launch. In 5 years, we foresee a new era of respiratory monitoring, effective, non-invasive, and patient-friendly. Join us as we breathe new life into healthcare. As mentioned, we are seeking $500,000 for our initial phase to propel our research and prototype development, as well as focus on obtaining regulatory approvals and securing our IP. Our team, led by experts in mechatronics, nanomaterials, and organic chemistry, and backed by NSERC and faculty, is fully equipped to use this funding to bring our vision of accessible respiratory measuring to life. Now, let's return to the world we imagined at the very beginning. With your support, that world becomes a reality. A reality where every individual has the power to monitor their respiratory health easily, accurately, and non-invasively. Thank you for considering our pitch. Let's breathe innovation into the future of healthcare together. Thank you.
Hey, you timed that perfectly. Wow, great job. So we already have a question in the chat. So the question is, which vitals parameter does it measure besides breathing?
Absolutely. So the technology itself, it has two specific sensors. And the first sensor is basically to determine whether or not you're breathing, and the other one is it basically determines the stretch. So this is more focused on the actual respiratory system. So whether you're inhaling or exhaling, so those sensors are specifically determining the movement of your diaphragm, of your chest, as well as how much air is going into your lungs.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So you have some patent applications filed now. You have one published. Could you just tell me a little bit about your global patenting strategy if one is in place?
Yeah, absolutely. So currently our intellectual property, we have 2 patents pending in Canada, and we have the published one is in the US. So right now the focus is really on the North American market, and rightfully so, because as we saw, Canada alone, 1 in 5 individuals have a significant risk or have these respiratory disorders, and so it's a massive market, and so the current patent and intellectual property strategies are definitely fitting of that market and strategy.
Okay, there's another question in the chat. Who monitors the sensor measurements and how? Does this information go to the patient's doctor? Is it actionable? Who monitors the sensor measurements and how? And does this information go to the patient's doctor? And again, is it actionable? So lots of questions there. So I'll let you tackle that.
Yeah, I guess I'll take it from the first one. So who monitors the sensor measurements and how? So this diagram is very useful in determining how the sensors actually measure the breathing. So the accelerometer and the pressure sensor are both attached to the actual individual, and then that goes to the computer, which records the breathing patterns. So as you can see in this image, it goes straight to the computer. And it really depends on the use scenario. So right now, the clinical tests are just with healthcare professionals. So they are the ones who are monitoring this and seeing whether or not, the inhale is normal, how much air volume is going into it is normal. And so that's kind of the initial stages right now. But as the technology progresses and as we obtain more funding, we can definitely explore ways that we can condense that technology even further, where you might not even need a computer. Maybe it's just like a small monitor that you can carry around, and it's portable so that you can measure wherever you are. But right now, the technology is that there is a sensor that is directly connected to the computer, and that is how the breathing pattern is determined. Whether or not it's actionable is based off of the doctors. So in the preliminary tests, they were able to compare it to the gold standard, the polysomnography, and it was incredibly accurate, and it proved a potential replacement for this gold standard at a more affordable price. I think I got all of the information. Yeah, so it really depends on who's taking the measurements. So if the patient's doctor is taking the measurements, the patient's doctor is going to get that information. And of course, there's training and all sorts of other things that are involved in the doctor actually being able to read those measurements accurately.
Okay, we have a couple more questions in the chat. The next one is, how is knowing air volume or diaphragm movement exactly helping patients with respiratory disease?
That is a fantastic question. So yeah, individuals with respiratory disease, their breathing is altered. So they might not inhale as vigorously or exhale as deeply as someone without this respiratory disease. So, just having those, having the standard of someone without a respiratory disease having that standard and then being able to kind of compare it to that and see, okay, well, this individual is having a little bit of difficulty breathing in, and then being able to relate those kinds of statistics to whichever disease, whichever respiratory disease it correlates with. So a certain limitation to inhaling or exhaling can signify either asthma or COPD. It really depends on the professional who's looking at it and the information that is going into it. So yeah, that's the biggest thing there.
Okay, I think we have time for one last question. Your estimated cost to manufacture, and how does this compare to your planned pricing strategy?
Oh, fantastic question. Yeah, so our current, let me just pull up the slide. Yeah, so right now, there we go. Yeah, so right now, we are only searching for $500,000. And that is going to go mostly into prototype development is going to be about 50 to 100,000 of those dollars. And so that's going to cover the materials. It's going to cover the small scale manufacturing, initial testing. We've explored partnerships with BioVectra in terms of, local Canadian businesses so that we're kind of, in-house and saving costs there while also being able to develop our prototypes. But it honestly the costs can vary based on the complexity on the and the different kind of prototype iterations needed based on the continuing clinical practices that are happening.
Great. Thank you so much, Aerovate Innovations.
Of course. Thank you.
Great presentation. And now we're going to be moving over to Team Sleep. Do we have Team Sleep with us today?
Yes.
Oh,
hello.
I see some waving. Welcome.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. We are Team Sleep, and today we'll be presenting our commercialization strategy for BreatheSense. All of us right now are breathing. We do it without even thinking, and it's a vital component of our lives. But what happens when the body stops breathing while sleeping? Inadequate breathing during sleep causes low oxygen levels, which result in severe health problems such as sleep apnea, extreme fatigue, increased risk of disease, and increased risk of mental illness. The problem is prevalent in Canada, where 8 out of 10 individuals with sleep apnea are undiagnosed. Poor sleep also impacts mental health, with studies showing 50% of people with insomnia also suffer from depression, anxiety, and stress. The current diagnosis process is extremely time-consuming, spanning from 8 months up to 24 months.
That's right. So speaking from my personal experience, the entire process of receiving a diagnosis took me 2 years to complete. As well, these sleep studies are expensive, with the average study costing $700 and $3,000 in America. The problem can be defined by TAM, SAM, and SOM. The TAM is derived from the valuation of the global sleep tracking industry, and we estimate our serviceable obtainable market as $190 million.
Meet BreatheSense, a cost-effective solution for monitoring breathing problems to speed up the diagnosis process. BreatheSense is a soft polymer, non-invasive wearable patch containing 2 sensors, specifically an accelerometer and a pressure sensor to accurately capture breathing rate, tidal volume, and body movements, among other metrics. Instead of waiting for a sleep study in which the patient sleeps in a foreign environment for one night, BreatheSense can be used from the comfort of one's home, and the artificial intelligence can analyze and aggregate sleep data from multiple nights to derive trends and support more accurate diagnoses. With BreatheSense, results that took up to 2 years can now be obtained within hours. While there are multiple competitors, none offer a 2-sensor system with artificial intelligence like us, hence our provisional design patent. Additionally, BreatheSense sensors are strategically meant for the abdomen to collect more accurate data. A common problem with competitors' products is they either fit too tight, which is uncomfortable, or too loose, falling off during sleep. Both are trade-offs that compromise results. BreatheSense solves this by being comfortable and lightweight to stay on during sleep.
Thank you, Bisman. Our go-to-market strategy consists of 3 phases over 5 years. Since product development is complete, in phase 1, we'll hit the ground running by raising capital to fund clinical trials while strengthening our intellectual property. We'll leverage our established relationship, advisors, and our prior startup experiences to apply to the Velocity 5K pitch competition in May of this year. Then we'll apply for additional funding through events and competitions such as Y Combinator. Once funding is secured, we'll kick off clinical trials to validate BreatheSense as an initial diagnostic tool. As these studies are in progress, we'll consult with lawyers specialized in IP to file a utility patent as we currently have a provisional design patent. In phase 2, we will proceed with applying for medical certifications within Canada. Since the device is non-invasive and low risk, it will either be a Class 1 or Class 2 medical device. As we're waiting for the MDL approval, we will solidify our supply chain by finalizing the manufacturing, packaging, storage, and distribution details. In preparation for launch, we'll launch our software development to ensure its design, privacy, and security comply with federal regulations. In phase 3, BreatheSense will go to market by targeting insurance company as their primary customers. By providing insurers an enhanced customer analytics, they can adjust their premiums accordingly based on our sleep data to generate more revenue. To further scale and grow, we'll pursue expansion opportunities in America, where there's a higher population of undiagnosed sleep-related cases. After phase 3, BreatheSense may consider an exit via acquisition from established medical device companies such as Medtronic and Boston Scientific.
Meet the team. My name is Bisman Kaur, and I'm a fourth-year student at the University of Waterloo studying science and business. I have extensive knowledge in biology and business strategy. In 2021, I started a luxury hair care brand which won $5,000 at pitch competitions and achieved over 1,000 sales without paid advertising. I also have formal work experience at Loblaws as an associate product manager, as well as business analyst and strategist at Manulife.
My name is Jaskiran Graywall, and I'm a fourth-year student also at the University of Waterloo, studying accounting and financial management. My experiences include working at a startup and successfully securing a $50,000 proof of concept investment. I was a fund accountant at a private equity firm, a tax analyst at Intact, and most recently a corporate banking credit risk analyst at Scotiabank.
Our mission at BreatheSense is to make diagnoses more accessible and affordable because everyone deserves a good night's sleep.
Thank you for your time, and we'd like to open the floor for questions now.
Okay, thank you so much, Team Sleep. Are there any questions?
What would be your first market that you're going to go to? Would it be that consumer market or will it be the healthcare market? I noticed that very quickly you want to get right into clinical trials. And I'm just thinking that may not be the fastest way to get to market. Maybe you can comment.
For sure. If I take this one?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. So the reason why we're targeting the B2B model is because we noticed that customer acquisition costs are constantly increasing year over year. So we wanted to target the B2B model because we would save a lot of costs in trying to acquire customers. And the reason why we want to do we're doing preclinical trial studies now, we want to raise funding to get our clinical study done and peer-reviewed study done to establish that this device can be used as an initial diagnosis tool. So what we want to do is start the sales cycle for insurance companies in year 3 and 4. That way in year 5, we can launch it to insurance companies so that they can help gather more information on their clients and adjust their premiums accordingly. So right now, insurance companies require basic assessments like blood work and previous health problems to help adjust their premiums. So all we're doing is we're trying to provide advanced data analytics to the actuaries to help price premiums accordingly and help them generate more revenue.
Hey, thank you. We have a question in the chat. Who analyzes the data, and can you sleep with this in any position?
Yeah, so I can take this question. So personally right now, we have there's an app, there's a website. So if you were to use this product, you could look at your own data, which is like the great benefit of this. You can check it in real time and you can see your results immediately. There's no wait time. There's no waiting on a doctor or to call you, which can take months, as we've heard from Jaskiran's personal experience. And so you can analyze the data. You can also choose to share this data with a doctor. And then eventually, if we pursue the insurance route, then they would have access to that as well. And it's part of our market strategy to consider, of course, security and privacy parts as well. And to answer your second question, can you sleep with this in any position? Yes. So because it is very comfortable and very soft, it's just a small soft patch, you can change in any positions. And actually adding on to that, it's a really accurate sensor that it can detect if you are walking, if you got up and you started walking and you started moving in your body position, and if you're sleeping on the side or on your belly. And those things also take an effect to your breathing and your health. For example, you can find trends that maybe when you're sleeping on your side, you're sleeping better and you have increased tidal volume, which is the amount of oxygen actually entering your lungs, versus if you're on your belly or on your back, then maybe you're not sleeping as well. So it can also give you more insights into how your physical kind of position impacts your health as well. And I'm noticing another question in the chat. Have you considered how you plan to ensure Canadian privacy regulations are met? Yes, HIPAA and PHIPA compliance. Yeah, so great question. Definitely, it's very important, and we are considering that. That's part of our kind of strategy in, I think it's years later on. But essentially, I can get to that slide really quickly. Let's see. Yeah, so kind of around like year 3 and 4, when we're solidifying the supply chain, we're also going to be considering the technology aspect as well, and making sure that security is safely stored, privacy is safely stored, and that ultimately the customer, the user, because the customer is a little bit different, the user is able to control their data, because it's very important. There are strict regulations. Having worked in insurance, I also understand the regulations as well. And we'll be meeting with lawyers, of course, to ensure that we're compliant and with the federal laws and also the specific regulation laws. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I can take on the next question that was asked in the chat. So the goal of this device is not to act as a diagnostic device. We don't want to replace the sleep study. The sleep study is still required because it captures a lot of data points that are essential to sleep doctors to diagnose sleep apnea and insomnia and other sleep-related issues. What we want to do is we want to fast track how fast you can receive your diagnosis. In my experience, it took me over 1 year just to get my doctor to be willing to send me to a sleep study, because a lot of the symptoms of depression, anxiety, they kind of overlap with the root cause of sleep, right? So even just understanding what's going on with your body, what's happening, this device can help you fast track and understand what's going wrong and where these potential problems are coming from. So we want to help speed up the process of diagnosis for sleep-related issues, which is often the causes of underlying issues such as depression, anxiety. I hope that helps clarify what the tool is for.
Okay, great. Derek, I see you're unmuted. Did you have a question?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, you go right ahead.
Sure. Recently, I've noticed that there is an uptick in sleep apnea apps that only use an app overnight that kind of records sounds that you make and provides some information on potential sleep apnea diagnoses. Can you just go into why your device is maybe more reliable or better?
Yeah, for sure. So I know exactly what sleep app you're talking about. It's the one that you play and record overnight while you're sleeping. So again, those are just meant to capture audio of you potentially gasping. So sometimes if you have central sleep apnea, what you'll do is you'll stop breathing, and then eventually you'll let out a big gasp because your brain stopped breathing, right? And obstructive, it'll help listen for obstructive sleep apnea, which is if you have snoring or large tonsils and it's like impacting the way you breathe. Again, those don't provide you any data analytics that you can show to your doctor to advance your diagnosis. It gives you audio recordings, which is great. It helps give you a little bit more insight, and it's a free app, but it won't give you the data that sleep doctors are looking for to help understand your diagnosis and understand your underlying conditions.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Team Sleep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you. That concludes our round 1 pitches for this evening, and I'm very excited now to introduce our first keynote speaker, Joel Adams. Joel is a Senior Innovation Advisor at the Government of Canada. He supports the accelerated growth of Canada's fastest growing and highest potential firms, ranging from early stage startups to globally competitive scale-ups. In addition to a wide variety of roles in the private sector, Joel is also a founding partner of Hacker Studios, a privately funded startup hub in London, Ontario. He is the former executive director of Western University's award-winning research parks. For years, he has taught university courses in new venture creation and entrepreneurship. Experience and expertise as an entrepreneur, engineering executive, and educator with aspiring entrepreneurs. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm going to share my screen, and I've asked Rebecca to put up the 30-second warning if necessary. So, let's. Hold on 1 second. Everybody else is better practiced at this. Okay, are you able to see my slides?
Yes.
Okay, so I've asked Rebecca to put up the 30-second warning, so we're on even turf here across the board. So thank you so much for having me. It's really exciting. I've been able to catch all of the presentations so far, and just some wonderful pitches, wonderful innovations, and congratulations to everyone who has been taking this journey towards entrepreneurship, already well down that road. So what I want to talk to you about today is about innovating in Canada. I'll give you a kind of a narrow slice. We just have a few minutes to talk about this. I've already had the introduction. The thing I really want to highlight here is that I work for Ottawa. I have an office in Toronto. I live in London. I teach at Western. I really believe in Southwestern Ontario. I've worked with all the universities that are presenting here today through the years. And always happy to help companies and startups from this region. So do reach out. I put my contact information in the chat. So before you even get into anything else, this is meant to be something you can take to the next level. This is the most important slide in my deck here today. I debated about whether I have slides or not. And really the one takeaway I want you to have is that Canada is not just a wonderful place to start a business, but I really firmly believe it is the best place in the world to innovate. We often beat ourselves up and we criticize, certain programs or shortcomings or how we compare on different rankings around the world. And that's really healthy. That helps us, get better and keep us continually improving. But having worked with companies all around the world, having worked in different countries around the world, working with startups in particular, it can be really difficult to start a business, even just to incorporate a business in other countries, let alone to start up a business and, raise capital, see it grow and turn into a global enterprise. And while obviously the US has enormous advantages and other countries have, different advantages and strengths, Canada has, an incredible innovation network, incredible programs that I'll talk about briefly. But also Canada is, so well connected to other regions in the world. If you want to do business in Europe, Canada is a great place to do it. If you want to do business in the US and even attract capital from the US, there's direct flights down to Silicon Valley. We have people working for the Canadian government and our trade commission in Palo Alto, right down the street from all the VCs. We're very well connected. We've got free trade agreements with regions all around the world. There's really no better place to be connected and to have a global perspective than Canada. It doesn't mean you're not choosing other countries. It means that you are choosing a country that is really a crossroads for many others. So really, really want to promote that. Obviously, I work for the government of Canada. I've got a certain bias, but this is coming from my background being an entrepreneur, being an executive, and working globally. This is the least important slide in my presentation, and it's the one everyone's going, okay, there's way too much text here, but there's a bunch of programs here that I think might be relevant to some of the companies here today. Even while you were presenting, I added a couple more just to make it even busier, and I can provide this to the organizers to share afterwards. But my point here is not to go through each of the individual programs. My point is to say there are lots of programs out there, well over 1,600 programs in the database that I use. It's a database that's available to you. And what programs will work for you will be different based on the industry you're focusing on, the customers you're working on, whether you have particular financial needs, you're hiring talent. There's going to be a wide range of things that you may be looking for. And I don't want you to get lost in all of that. So I'm showing a purposely busy slide, and then I'll talk in our brief time together about how to make that a little bit less busy. But I will touch on a couple things here and just highlight a couple programs. The first one I'll talk about is a tax program. So people are looking for grants as startups. I want free money, I want grants. Very few of these programs up here on this particular slide are grants. But one of the best programs in the entire world for innovation is our Scientific Research and Experimental Development Tax Credit, which means that it's a program that is available to you as you incorporate as an early stage startup, even before you're making profits. You don't have to wait and get a reimbursement once you're making money. You can actually get a third or more of your dollars spent on R&D back in your pocket as a startup company or even as a later stage scaling company. Amazing program. It's the biggest one in Canada. It's one of the best in the world. The next thing I'll talk about is at the very bottom of the list here. We've already heard from Tech Alliance at the start of this. We've got people in Waterloo and Windsor and Hamilton presenting here. There are some amazing ecosystem partners at the local level alongside the campus-led accelerators and organizations like World Discoveries. Don't just think about funding, think about people who can help you get funding, and not just pointing out the programs, but also helping you to develop your business strategies. Obviously, a lot of you have already done that. You're presenting really well today. You've thought through your business models. You're working with World Discoveries. You're working with the equivalents at other universities and other regions, but definitely make use of these ecosystem partners. Everything in between is going to be really dependent on your own individual needs as an organization. I will highlight a couple of these in that there are programs like procurement-based programs. People say they want grants. I say, well, what about tax credits? Get that money back every time you file your taxes. People will talk about, loans. I say, well, what about procurement? Can the government of Canada be one of your first customers? And even there's programs that can help support you if you're selling into the healthcare system, like a number of the companies here are, in some cases, clean tech companies. What's better than a grant? What's better than a loan? What's better than equity? Sales. So there are company or programs that can support that. One thing I'll highlight here is to think about what you're eligible for, not just today. As a startup company, quite frankly, you're not going to be eligible for very much. A lot of the programs are biased towards companies that have some, traction. You've got product market fit. You've been in business for a couple of years. You have a certain size team in place. But you should be ready for those programs when you do become eligible. You don't want to find out that you were eligible for something 2 years ago. You want to know that you're going to be eligible for something in 6 months' time, in 1 year's time. So how do you go about doing that? Two things that we do in addition to funding programs and providing expertise is we have an automated system we call our Business Benefits Finder. And this is at innovation.canada.ca. I've dropped it into the chat. Every business in Canada should be aware of this website, but particularly innovative, IP-intensive companies like we're seeing here today. Go to this website, you fill out in a couple minutes, a little bit of information about your company. Here's a bit of a cheat. If you're not eligible for programs today, fill out where your company is going to be in a year's time, in 6 months' time, in 2 years' time. So you get some of that programs that you are going to be ready for when you hit certain milestones, maybe when you're raising money or you've hit the market and you're now looking to expand globally and you're looking for export support. But you go onto this website, innovation.canada.ca, fill out a bit of information, as little or as much as you want about your organization, and it'll spit out a bunch of results. And somewhat curated. One day we'll apply, intensive Canadian-based AI to this. But today it's kind of a first pass. It'll give you a glimpse into a bunch of programs that are relevant to your company and your needs. From there, one of the other services we can provide is innovation advisors like myself. We have a team of entrepreneurs and executives from the private sector who have moved into government and are able to bring our experiences, our expertise as people who have founded companies, as people who have run companies, applied for programs, to help you pick out the ones that are most relevant to your business. Your job is not to apply for programs. Maybe the researchers, that's part of your job. But as a company founder, you're finding customers, you're finding product market fit, you're raising money, you're managing your employees, managing other stakeholders. Filling out applications should be very low on your list. So if you're going to fill out an application for a program, we want to make sure that you're filling out 1 or 2 high probability good fit programs, not 100 programs and crossing your fingers, or not hiring an organization to fill out 100 programs and cross your fingers and pay them a bunch of money. So between the Business Benefits Finder and our network of innovation advisors, we're here to help organizations based in Canada to identify what programs may be the best fit for them. Even regulatory aspects, getting medical devices approved, or dealing with immigration issues as you're trying to attract top talent into your Canadian-based company. We can help you with these types of things, help you navigate through, all the things the government does. We exist coast to coast to coast. We're a relatively small team, but very, very experienced. But the starting point is those, that Business Benefits Finder, innovation.canada.ca. So I'll wrap up by saying, I believe Canada is the best place to innovate. We're connected to the biggest markets in the world. You don't have to just pick the US or just pick China or just pick India, just pick Europe, pick Canada, and then pick all of those places, conquer them next. Innovate here, build your business here. We have amazing programs and services, but there's so many of them, it's easy to get lost, and I don't want you to get lost in them. Use our tools, reach out to me, joel.adams@canada.ca. Happy to work with anybody on the call here today. So congratulations again. Great presentations. Can't wait to see who wins.
Great. Thanks so much, Joel, for that wonderful presentation. Certainly information, lists of supports and funding options to support many of our teams here, hopefully as they move forward, if not on their current technologies, then another opportunity. So now we're going to take a short break, so about 5 minutes. So we'll come back at 6:10. We're just going to give some time for our round one judges, and then we'll be reconvening. So reconvening at 6:10. So feel free just to mute yourself and turn off your video, and we will see everybody again soon. Thank you.
Significant meat waste reductions along the entire supply chain. SealSafe Smart antimicrobial vacuum packaging reduces meat waste by extending the preservation period. This advantage provides cost savings, environmental benefits, and food poisoning prevention, which incentivize manufacturers to ditch their current packaging in exchange for SealSafe's disruptive smart technology. This innovative product operates through smart nanoparticles, which release an antimicrobial agent solely in the presence of bacterial toxins. When bacteria responsible for food poisoning produce a specific toxin, these nanoparticles release nisin to combat them. Vacuum packaging prevents meat oxidation and ensures contact with the nanoparticles, ensuring continuous meat preservation throughout the entire supply chain, thereby significantly reducing meat waste. Overall, the global processed meat industry is experiencing year-over-year growth, with worldwide revenue expected to reach $425 billion US by the year 2028. In America, in 2022, packaged lunch meats, like the one seen on the slide, experienced a near 15% increase in sales. Additionally, the antimicrobial packaging market has a compound annual growth rate of 5.89% over the forecast period 2021 to 2026. Analysis of SealSafe's competitors reveal our smart vacuum packaging's proprietary advantage. Our controlled antimicrobial release sets our product apart from other antimicrobial packagings under development, which lack this feature. Additionally, our secondary competitors, the current manufacturing standard, cannot prolong shelf life without SealSafe's smart technology, thereby contributing significantly to the costly and environmentally burdensome issue of meat waste. We are confident that our product's unique advantages will position us ahead of our competitors upon entering the market. In mid to late 2023, a US provisional patent was filed to secure the novel intellectual property. SealSafe will continue to protect this IP through filing a PCT patent and submitting national patent applications in the leading beef-producing countries around the globe. This will ensure that SealSafe's innovative product can effectively enter international markets. SealSafe is currently at the idea phase and aims to leverage two non-dilutive funding sources, the $125,000 NSERT grant and the $250,000 CFI Innovation Fund. These funds will provide the initial seed capital required to kickstart the business and develop a prototype. As we transition into the startup phase, we'll explore dilutive angel investment funding, with a focus on Ontario-based groups such as Curetsu Forum and Angel One. We align with them in terms of both investment size and portfolio diversification. Further growth will be supported by early venture capital investment. Ultimately, we'll target late-stage investment opportunities through private equity, with exit options including mergers, acquisitions, or an initial public offering. Canadian partnerships of interest are Maple Leaf Foods and President's Choice, as they're leaders in processed meat manufacturing. The University of Waterloo's Tech Transfer Office has already made contact with Maple Leaf Foods, who have expressed interest in innovative packagings. Comparable partnerships in the USA are Cisco and Kraft Heinz. All of these partnerships may lead to licensing opportunities, allowing for tailored product development to offer enhanced value through customization. SealSafe's 5-year timeline begins with funding, as described earlier. The NSERC and CFI grants will sustain the startup over the first 2 years. This will continue to the prototype research and development. Our market research aligns with our intellectual property protection and will inform our national patent applications. Pre-market evaluations will follow patenting and prototype development, and after receiving a letter of no objection from the FDA, it will support a safe market entry. Lastly, initiating partnerships early on once we have a prototype will be important for long-term growth. The $375,000 in non-dilutive funds from NSERC and CFI will mostly be allocated towards research and development to get a prototype. 10% will be allocated to market research and regulatory applications, 8% will be used for filing PCT, and the remaining 2% saved for unexpected costs. This is the SealSafe team made up of BDC students, and we're grateful to have Dr. Ho and Ms. Kogan from the University of Waterloo as part of this mission. We thank you for listening and invite any questions that you may have.
Okay, great. Thank you, SealSafe. I will hand it over now to judges or our audience for any questions.
I have a question. Oh, go ahead.
I have a quick question, and perhaps I missed it. Who are the competitors to this right now?
Yeah, so right now, it's really tricky to assess which competitors are directly being used by Maple Leaf Foods, let's say in PC. But they do use a lot of like styrofoam, vacuum packagings. Uline is a big company that a lot of industry leaders use for packaging solutions. And then the traditional antimicrobial packagings, they're currently in early development and they're still in research. So what our product has is that competitive advantage, which is the controlled release, which current antimicrobial packagings, they just do not have the ability to regulate how much is actually exposed.
And I was going to ask if you could talk a little bit about the nanoparticle composition and whether or not it's food safe.
Yeah, absolutely. So the nanoparticle uses food safe lipids, and part of the antimicrobial niacin, it's actually generally recognized as safe by both the FDA and World Health Organization, and is a primary antimicrobial of interest in a lot of the active packaging research that's ongoing. So yeah, we plan to leverage all of that research and incorporate that into the ongoing research efforts for SealSafe.
Oh, and it's Dean. What's the business case? If you're Maple Leaf or Pillars, you're a meat producer. What's the business case for incorporating your technology into their offering? Like, why do they want to use you?
Absolutely. So at the manufacturing stage, there's about 20% of meat waste that is lost at that stage. So what our product will allow us to do is extend that shelf life. So a lot of that waste is from spoilage due to transportation or contamination or improper storage conditions. So by being able to extend that shelf life of the product and prevent any bacterial contamination, we can then allow that product to move on to the next stage, being distribution and then consumption. And so it'll allow those manufacturers to save money on the product that they lose. So instead of keeping their current packaging, which instead switching to ours, what it'll allow them to do is reduce that 20% loss. We hope to achieve at least 50% reduction in their waste, which will then allow them to increase their revenues by selling more product.
Cool.
Okay, we have a question in the chat. Why did you choose to focus on processed meat as opposed to fresh meat?
Absolutely. So maybe it wasn't conveyed as well as we'd hoped, but we do plan on focusing on fresh meat as well. Processed meat market is growing, and that's why we did put it a little bit of an emphasis on there. But fresh meat, chicken, beef, pork, those are all major focuses as well. And that allows us the product, which is really nice, it's very transferable. So you can implement it at the distribution level as well. So when you're buying a steak at the grocery store, you can put it into our vacuum bag rather than it being wrapped in styrofoam and a plastic wrap. And then what that allows you to have is more protection as it's going home to people. And even when it's on the shelves at the grocery store, you won't have to worry about the bacterial contamination.
Okay, great, thank you. Do we have any other questions for SealSafe?
Actually, I have one more. Do you know if the nanoparticle composition, does it get affected by freezing the meat?
That's actually one of the primary focuses of what our research efforts would like to investigate, which is the interactions of the liposome and nisin, interactions of the liposome and the plastic. So really evaluating the freezing as well, because a lot of people will take their meat home and put it in the freezer. And we want to make sure that once they thaw it, it'll still be able to release the antimicrobials. So that is some of the primary areas of investigation, as well as things like sous vide. So people like to cook their food in water bath. So if we can make sure that our product is able to still operate after it's been sous vide, that's a big focus of us of the product as well. Same thing with refrigeration.
Thank you.
No worries.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, SealSafe. We will now be turning to BioGuard. Do we have BioGuard with us today?
Yeah, we're right here.
Perfect.
Let me just go ahead and share my screen. Is it visible?
Yes, you just need to be in presentation mode. Perfect. Whenever you're ready.
Yeah. So good evening, everybody. First of all, I want you all to imagine a perfect Thanksgiving family dinner. Fresh, delicious proteins, a chance to connect with the loved ones. But sometimes millions get sick each year due to contamination of meat, seafood, and poultry. Now, this is not just a health risk, but also a financial nightmare for both families and food companies alike. But what if I tell you there was a better way? BioGuard is here to do just that. BioGuard isn't just a packaging solution. It is a revolution for a healthier future. Foodborne illness isn't just a dinner time disaster. It is a global challenge, and the problem is bigger than we all think. 400,000 people lose their lives each year due to foodborne illnesses. Also, according to Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Listeria monocytogenes causes 94% hospitalization rate with over 15% death rate. And I'm sure when I mention Listeria, most of the Canadians go back to year 2008 when one of the major food companies, Maple Foods, announced that two of its products, roast beef and corned beef products, tested positive for Listeria, and this resulted in a major listeriosis outbreak. In the same way, Clostridium botulinum also causes 84% of hospitalization rate with over 17% death rate. Now, do you know that 20% of meat is also lost to microbial contamination each year? On the same note, on an average, a food company loses $109 million in first 5 days of a food recall. Now, we are stuck in a vicious cycle of food contamination, food spoilage, foodborne illnesses, and food wastage. We need a solution that breaks this cycle. And we have identified an unmet need in the market for food packaging that could potentially provide enhanced food safety, extended shelf life, and reduced reliance on preservatives. We think BioGuard is our product, and that fits this zone perfectly. Now, how exactly does BioGuard achieve this magic? The technology is a liposome formulation that makes a smart, responsive bacterial platform. Liposome is a spherical shaped vesicle which is encapsulated with antimicrobial agents. Now, it achieves controlled antimicrobial release in presence of CDC producing bacteria like Listeria monocytogenes, Clostridium botulinum, and Streptococcus species. Our strategy is to use liposomes with antimicrobial agents to protect food from spoilage and contamination. We will use the liposome formulation to achieve a controlled release of the antimicrobial agent. Our plan is to incorporate these liposomes into HPMC, which is a versatile plant-based polymer. The incorporation of liposomes into HPMC leads to formation of a film, which is our product, BioGuard. And we plan to use these biodegradable films as the innermost layer of food packaging. A thorough market analysis has revealed that antimicrobial food packaging is a very lucrative opportunity. Antimicrobial food packaging is currently at a whopping $11 billion worldwide. And even if we take a conservative estimate of 5%, we have a service obtainable market of $215 million in North America alone. The major food groups that are affected by these CDC producing microvillains include meat, poultry, and seafood, which are also the targets of our technology. Coming to our business model, we plan to produce and sell BioGuard as the innermost layer directly to the packaging manufacturers, allowing for easy integration. Then these food packaging manufacturers would integrate BioGuard into their products and sell it to the end users, which would typically be meat, seafood, and poultry companies wanting to avoid contamination. A thorough competitive analysis revealed that there are companies like MicrobeGuard and Aptar who currently have products in development which are in the similar arena. However, none of them provide what we do. BioGuard is the only product that provides controlled antimicrobial release with extended shelf life. This makes our product superior and unique in the market space, following the need. When it comes to the timeline, we are currently in 2024 and at the formulation and IP protection stage. Over the next 5 years, we plan to develop a minimum viable product, get regulatory approvals, and hopefully commercialize by the year 2028. BioGuard is a strong team of two. I am Gautami Patki and my teammate is Sarvani Vemuri. We are both from the biotechnology background, making us ideal candidates to take the technology development further. We would also like to thank the University of Waterloo, Professor Ho and Jen Kogan for their continuous support throughout this process. In conclusion, BioGuard isn't just a packaging solution, it's a revolution for a healthier future. We now welcome your questions. Thank you.
Okay, great. Go ahead with your question. Sorry.
Maybe I missed it again, but your IP position on this?
Right. So currently, like the previous team mentioned too, we have a provisional IP filed in the US, and we plan to, which is actually getting, which expires in the month of April. So our plan is to preferably file for patent in both US and Canada, because we would like to have protection in both the countries, and this will ideally be a utility patent.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's Dean. What's the regulatory approval? Is that a big hurdle to overcome? Like, do you need a lot of data and evidence, or is it a relatively low hurdle?
Okay, so we do need it's not that big of a hurdle, because what we have chosen, HPMC, is actually already approved by the FDA for since it is non-toxic, and it is approved by the FDA for direct and indirect contact with food materials. So that does make our regulatory process a little bit easier, but we are also incorporating nanoparticles and antimicrobial agents, which so it might take some time, but not as much.
Thank you.
And so can you apply this film on other like fruits and vegetables? Can you apply it on any food, or is it specific to any
Right. So
food?
yeah, so we can actually use this film for fruits and vegetables as well. Here we want to start with meats because they are the food products that are most affected, and they are the ones that have the most outbreaks. But this can definitely be used for ready to eat meats, fruits, vegetables, but it cannot be used for juices, like anything liquid right now, because we don't know how the formulation would react to liquids, also because HPMC is water absorbent. So in that case, we might want to change the HPMC layer. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I see a question in the chat. Why do only bacteria produce CDC?
Right. CDC stands for cholesterol-dependent cytolysin, and they are not produced by all bacteria. There are only certain pathogenic bacteria that produce CDC, and this is because of their virulence factor. Now, CDC is produced by most of the bacteria in order to evade the host immune system and aid in causing disease and establishing infection.
Okay, there's another question in the chat. Why did you choose HPMC?
Okay, so like I mentioned before, HPMC, the most important part being it is already approved by the FDA for direct and indirect contact with food. Secondly, HPMC has a tendency to form the film, which helps us to create that barrier which we want in the packaging system. It is also biodegradable, which helps with our sustainability goals, reducing plastic waste.
Okay, the next question is, what type of antimicrobials can you encapsulate?
So basically the technology mentions that we could use naturally derived antimicrobials such as penicillin, vancomycin, tetracycline, and as such.
Okay, and what will it add to the cost of packaged food?
So right now, our technology is in very nascent stages of development. We don't really have a cost of production, but HPMC, depending on, the food grade HPMC is not that costly. So we are hoping to have competitive pricing.
Okay, and I think you already answered this question that this technology cannot be used for other food products like
Oh
juice.
yeah, I did, yeah.
Okay, great. Are there any final questions for BioGuard? Okay, if not, thank you so much for your presentation and pitch.
Thank you.
Okay, we are now moving on to McMaster University's finalists. So for McMaster University's technology, we have McMaster Innovates as the team number 1, and team number 2 is the firm. So do we have McMaster Innovates with us this evening?
Hello, Lisa.
Good evening.
Let me know if you guys can see the screen. Yes.
Yes, you're good to go. Anytime you're ready.
Almost half of our frontline healthcare workers have experienced post-traumatic stress symptoms, and a quarter of them are dealing with depression, according to data from a systematic review of 10,886 healthcare workers. And following the pandemic, the state of our healthcare workers' mental health demands our urgent attention. There are many risk factors involved in this higher prevalence of mental health problems, which include inadequate support, being a female healthcare worker, and maladaptive coping mechanisms. As the world continues to grapple with the consequences of prolonged isolation and heightened stress, the need for increased awareness of mental health and innovative interventions that address it has become more important than ever. Now, imagine a world where healthcare workers feel supported, resilient, and empowered in their mental health journey. Introducing Beyond Silence, a one-stop app developed by Dr. Mole's lab at McMaster University that provides anonymous and secure connections to peer support by text or phone. The goal is early intervention for mental health problems faced by healthcare workers. My name is Navreen, and I'm here today with my teammates Vikraman and Ramiz, and we're here to pitch to you a commercialization plan for a portable mental health companion tailored for healthcare professionals, Beyond Silence.
Currently, our team consists of 3 individuals, myself, Ramiz, and Navreen, bringing to the table an extensive background in business and biotechnology, allowing us to turn scientific findings into marketable products and navigate market complexities. Looking ahead, we aim to expand our team by collaborating with individuals from the McMaster Industry and Liaison Office to support our research endeavors and elevate Dr. Sandra Mole's team's involvement to the forefront of our commercialization process. Now let's talk about the features that Beyond Silence brings to the table. When you first sign into the app with an access code, you see a welcome page containing options like peer support, a sliding wellness log, and explore section for articles on mental health and goal tracking. The support feature of the app lets you access resources for enhancing your well-being through a chatbot interface. You can customize a personal wellness kit and register for peer-led sessions. With the goals feature, you can make a plan to feel healthier and happier from 1 to 30 days, and you can pick goals from a list or make your own. Moving on to the Explore section, you are provided articles, videos, and more on pressing mental health topics. Peer support connects you with a trained peer supporter either from your workplace or elsewhere with a confidential phone or chat session at your convenience. Lastly, you are able to monitor your wellness with a sliding scale, and orange and red indicate that it's time to seek support. Our solution was developed with input from healthcare providers and is a market-ready intervention that has successfully been implemented for 2 years. During the development of this innovative product by Dr. Mole and her dedicated team, their primary objective was to create an application that could seamlessly deliver top-tier, accessible, and confidential information, with a crucial focus on extending mental health support to medical professionals across both small and large organizations shown above. The smallest site of implementation is a rural health team, and the largest site is a national professional organization.
Beyond Silence is a one-stop shop of a mental wellness app that will support healthcare workers in all different regimes. As we can see in our competitive analysis, Beyond Silence tackles 6 main goals that other competitors just simply cannot afford. With virtual integration, goal tracking, and peer support network, Beyond Silence overtakes its competitors and provides a holistic view for the healthcare environment. Our go-to-market strategy is simple. We're seeking 2 major funding sources from the Ontario Health Government, which is the Models of Care Innovation Fund and the Mental Health Promotion Innovation Fund. The Models of Care Fund will be used to seek hospital partnerships and to conduct our final hospital pilot program, while our Mental Health Promotion Fund is to help our soft launch of hospitals towards the end of this year. In the middle of that, we have a buffer zone for both feedback implementation and putting in some evaluation metrics onto our software. Some other key considerations for our marketing strategy are the Ontario Digital Health Playbook, where Ontario has proposed to invest $12.4 million over the next 2 years to expand mental health resources for healthcare workers and other workers combined. Other considerations such as PAPITA compliance and our scalability and reach are at the forefront of our marketing strategy. Now, what's our ask? Well, we're looking for about $60,000 to finish up our software development and also integrate some money into research and leveraging partnerships. Our team brings experience and well-knit backed scientific-backed research with a developed prototype and a clear market strategy. Thank you for listening.
In conclusion, by offering evidence-based resources and anonymous peer support, the company generates gains and derives value by enhancing well-being, reducing absenteeism, and increasing productivity in healthcare settings. We'd like to thank everyone for listening and for giving us a chance to represent McMaster University.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
It's Dean. Maybe I'll start first on this one. What proof points do you have before you get to market? Like, what do you need to prove to the people who are going to procure your product that it's ready to go and that it works and it's effective?
Yeah, Dean, that's a great question. Well, Dr. Sandra Moll and her team have really extensively looked at making evidence-based decision-making and resources that will be implemented into the Beyond Silence app. But in terms of procurement for implementation into market, we really want to show them that this is going to be a tool that completely helps and changes the dynamic of healthcare workers in Ontario. And by that, we're really pushing for that hospital pilot program and that early market integration so that we can get real-time feedback and real user input about the app and create a more robust model.
Thank you.
So it's a subscription business model, correct?
It would be ideal if we could target the Ontario government in their digital health space and kind of get a licensing agreement. Subscription-based could be an option, but we are also open to one-time payments as well.
Okay, because you did mention hospitals, different hospitals, and I wasn't sure if you were, okay. Have you looked at adjacent spaces like long-term care and those kinds of things?
So I can take that question. So currently, Dr. Moll is only working with these 8 sites, but she also said that she is open to working with long-term care centers in the future based on how the implementation program proceeds in these 8 organizations.
I had a question. So you mentioned that you were kind of in the healthcare space, and I think mental health affects everybody, and it is such an important topic for people from all walks of life. So do you have either plans to kind of expand into other sectors? Like me being at a law firm, I know that like mental health at a law firm is also like, it would be great to have an app or something where we can discuss or have that access. And if so, have you thought about how you plan to expand into those sectors if that's a future goal?
So currently, the competitive advantage of this app only focuses on building mental health, wellness, and fostering early intervention and peer support for healthcare providers, and it's developed with feedback from them. So right now, it's only in that sector, but we're also open to exploring other sectors in the general health and well-being of clients.
Yeah, can I kind of like, I think that's a great question, and I like your answer. Okay, but let's take it another step further. So you're focused on supporting healthcare workers. Canada's a pretty small market. So what do you like? And I don't know, maybe you haven't got that far, but how can you scale this beyond Canada? Like, is it the US? And what would stop you from doing that? I guess those are the questions I have.
Well, luckily enough, with our product, there's no regulatory barriers such as the FDA or Health Canada that we have to deal with. So in terms of scalability and reach, this could really be a worldwide project. Now, what comes down to like consideration is the demographic trends and importances that different regions may have. The US, for example, would be a great comparison to Canada in terms of them supporting their healthcare workers, but other maybe third-party regions or maybe in the EU, they have a completely different mindset on mental health. Well, I mean, it is growing, but different regions also have different takes on what mental health is and how the government wants to support it. So US could definitely be a viable starting point, and this does have the opportunity to reach a worldwide audience.
Thank you.
Okay, there was a question in the chat. Could you kindly break down how you came to the $60,000 ask?
Yeah, just gonna go back to the slide here. So Beyond Silence is still very early stage in terms of we're trying, as there's evidence-based practices and we have developed, and the app has been developed, but we just want to make sure that we integrate the best things we can for the app and for healthcare workers. So most of that money is going towards software development in which we can get out of that verification and validation loop and really bring a pilot program into Canada beyond the 8 hospitals that Dr. Mo has already reached. And then in terms of research and integration, this is just to help continue the current research efforts. As I mentioned, everything's evidence-based practice, and this does take some time to develop research and get out papers. Lastly, leveraging partnerships. While it is only 10% of our ask, it is also crucial for us to create those bureaucratic relationships where we can start asking policymakers and getting their opinion on what they think Beyond Science could be in the future and how they could see it in the Canadian healthcare system.
Okay, thank you. Are there any final questions for McMaster Innovates? Okay, seeing none, thank you so much again for your pitch this evening. And that brings us to our final team of the night, the firm.
Hi, how's it going? Just going to share my screen here.
Yeah, sounds great.
Cool.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. All right. Frankie's on shift with their head in their hands, wishing for work to be less draining, but getting just silence. About 1 in 4 Canadian nurses are ready to quit jobs or change jobs, meaning over 69,000 people. If these nurses acted on their feelings, this would cost healthcare organizations $7.36 billion. Local to Hamilton, this would cost St. Joseph's Hospital $46 million. And for burnout across Canada, for doctors, $213 million. When considering the rest of the healthcare workforce, like occupational therapists, personal support workers, and more, these numbers are further intensified. And this economic burden is one more reason for healthcare organizations to listen. Healthcare professionals like Frankie have carried this burden for years and will continue to if we don't act now. Effectively addressing the healthcare worker burnout, institution-led interventions recommended by Ontario Medical Association are paramount, proven to reduce burnout levels.
Introducing the Beyond Silence app. This revolutionary product was developed by principal investigator Dr. Sandra Mall and her revolutionary team. Our team, the firm, has collaborated with them as their market strategy consultants. This app caters to healthcare organizations with their healthcare workers like nurses, doctors, and social workers with diverse needs as its end users. Beyond Silence takes proactive steps to addressing existing burnout and prevent future occurrences. Featuring crisis management resources, interactive media, and trained peer-to-peer support through encrypted software Twilio, our app is tailored to meet the unique needs of each user. With the entire design backed by evidence, research confirms the benefits of peer support among healthcare workers. Beyond Silence serves as an important tool for everyone, beating competitors alike.
What's Up, Talkspace, 7Cups, and DigiPill are some important competitors, but these apps only focus on one or two things, whereas Beyond Silence provides many resources in one setting. Studies found that common pitfalls of mental health apps is that they lack evidence-based techniques and confidentiality. Beyond Silence tackles both of these. As opposed to untrained volunteers, Beyond Silence offers trained peer support by text and call. Additionally, many of these apps cost money, but Beyond Silence will be paid for by employers, making it economically accessible to employees. With superior performance and an economic advantage, Beyond Silence represents an incentive to change the landscape of digital health.
So in terms of revenue, we anticipate generating about $3.21 million over the next 4 years through 3 key streams. Firstly, through the Canadian Institute of Health Research's annual project grants, we aim to secure a total of $1.2 million. Secondly, our annual app subscription model paid for by the employers is projected to bring in $1.3 million over the same period. And lastly, by selling anonymized user data directly to the organizations, we anticipate an additional $670,000 in revenue. This will cover the app's expenses, which is projected to be around $2 million.
Currently, the app requires $1.2 million for general operations, including data storage, training peer supporters, McMaster staffing, and more.
And for the future, $800,000 would go towards improved analytics software Tableau. This would also cover research and development for global expansion, including subtitles, translations, culturally appropriate resources, and messaging software. Beyond Silence would eventually contact McMaster's partners through the Global Health Consortium of Universities for international distribution. This includes Norway, Thailand, and more.
The team would use the improved analytics to better understand their users and refine the target organizations. Getting Beyond Silence into hospitals requires making use of the McMaster Industry Liaison Office's connections and independently becoming a supplier with HealthPro. For example, for Hamilton Health Sciences, we would contact a board member and president of the Medical Staff Association, which supports the best interests and advocates for the medical staff. We'd also explain the economic benefit of tackling staff mental health. Currently, this position is held by Dr. Thomas Van Helder.
In the later future, Beyond Silence will transition into its own entity while maintaining ties with McMaster University. This enables dedicated management of the app and streamlines profit distribution. This involves negotiating an intellectual property licensing with McMaster in exchange for an equity stake in the corporation. To visualize our market plan, here's our 4-year timeline. For funding, we'll utilize a recurring revenue model with annual app subscriptions occurring for all 4 years. We'll also monetize analytics at the start of the second quarter of year 1, followed by 3 project grants scattered throughout the timeline.
For R&D, year 1 would see analytics improvement facilitating market research. Year 2 would be improvements for Canada-wide expansion, and years 3 to 4 we move into developments for international partners.
And finally, regarding scalability, halfway through year 1, implementing any developments found from the analytic data would be underway and move into year 2. By year 3, the initial global connection will be prepared for implementation in the 4th year. Beyond Silence is an opportunity to improve the well-being of healthcare workers like Frankie while addressing the major economic losses due to burnout. With that, thank you all for listening. Here are references, and do you have any questions?
I do. Who funds the economic losses due to burnout? Who pays for that? When a nurse has mental health issues and they take time off, who covers that?
So typically, since the healthcare system in Canada is, it's funded nationally through taxpayer money and OHIP. So technically, it would be taxpayers' money that would be covering those expenses, that economic loss, essentially.
Okay. Thank you.
I see that there's a question in the chat. How would you protect data privacy of your customers and end users? So this is something that is really important in Beyond Silence. So one of the things that we'll be doing is using Twilio as the messaging and call system, which is end-to-end encrypted. And also the system automatically deletes all messages after 30 days. So there's not any personal information sitting in the app if someone were able to get access to it. In terms of the data monetization, just to be clear, we're talking about selling each organization's individual usage of the app, those analytics directly to them so they can get more information. So that information would be completely protected.
So sorry, I have a quick question. So nothing is being kept more than 30 days, you said, right? So you're taking that information, anonymizing it, and then selling it. Is that correct, or?
Sorry, so the information that would be deleted after 30 days is the information in the messaging system. So when you're talking to a peer supporter, that's getting deleted after 30 days. The information that's getting sold back to employers is more about the analytics of how the app is being used and by who.
Okay. And that's, okay, that's fair. Thank you.
Do you have plans to use the analytics and the data into like a training a model or use in like an AI or large language model?
Currently, we haven't put much thought into specifically the use of AI in the future. That's definitely something that would be interesting that I think we'd be willing to look into. Right now, we plan on using the data that we get from Tableau to refine the market search. So determining what kinds of organizations are using the app and how will help us be able to target which organizations we should specifically be going after and putting resources into contacting.
And also, in addition to that, in terms of like language models, we are planning to expand accessibility in terms of making different languages more accessible on the app. And again, like what Miriam said, we're collecting that data so that we can further develop the app and cater to the population.
And sorry, add to one more of that. The reason that we're looking so much into language is that we're planning on putting it through Canada Resources first. So trying out the languages that we develop through our software, trying it in Canada before we start moving out to other parts or other countries outside of Canada. So like I said before about going to Norway and Thailand, making sure that's understood within Canada, trying out with specific users, specifically to certain people, see if they say okay, and then moving that way. And even then it's a trial and error. We're going to try it out. And if there are things that can be developed, it's still in early software. So we have time to push through with developments. We have the time and money to push through with it.
Okay, thank you.
See that we have another question in the chat. How would you protect data privacy of your customers and end users?
Hi, sorry, Lisa. I think I actually answered that at the beginning. I just went ahead and answered it.
Yeah, sorry. You're right.
That's
My
totally,
apologies.
yeah, all good.
Okay, do we have any final questions for the firm?
It's just a thought, but when you were talking about other languages, I've been there with a software program, and we tried to bring it to Quebec when I was at 3M, and Quebec French, of course, is different than France French, and it was a pretty painful experience. So brace yourselves.
I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah, it's tough. It's not easy. It's not as easy as it might seem. Or maybe it's better
The
now.
good news, yeah. The good news is that Beyond Silence is actually already available in English and French. So hopefully that specifically Quebecois hurdle has already been overcome.
Okay, any final questions for the firm? Okay, seeing none, then I think that wraps up all of our pitches for this evening. So I just want to say congratulations to all 10 of the teams. You have done a fantastic job. It's not easy presenting in front of a group of over 100 people on Zoom. So you all have done an amazing job and keeping it under 5 minutes. So great work. Now is one of my favorite parts of the evening where we get to do the Audience Choice Award. So we're going to now let our audience vote for their favorite team out of the 10 teams that presented this evening. The winning team of the Audience Choice Award will be awarded $1,000. So please use the poll button located on your Zoom menu to vote. So we'll just give everybody a few minutes to do that. Okay, I see the votes are still coming in. Okay, any final votes? Okay, I think the voting has now completed. So Rebecca, if you want to maybe end the poll, we are going to be announcing the Audience Choice Award winner at the end of the evening with the other awards. So you're just going to have to sit tight for a little bit longer to hear the winner. And I'm now going to move to introducing our second keynote speaker of the evening, Amanda Green. So Dr. Amanda Green is a senior advisor in business development with MyTax for the Waterloo region. She has a PhD in neuroscience and has completed a postdoctoral fellowship in pediatrics at McMaster University. Amanda is a former Communitech startup advisor, connecting founders with government funding and building collaborations with university research talent. MyTax connects community partners with research collaborators, including not-for-profits, startups, and corporate partners. Amanda provides strategic advice on project development, funding, and academic industry partnerships, connecting the best talent with cutting-edge research to help drive innovation in Canada. So welcome, Amanda.
Thanks so much, Lisa. It's so great to be here. I'm really enjoying seeing all of the different pitches and getting a chance to learn more about all the teams and the projects that are going on. So I'm just going to share my screen here, and this is a slideshow. Let me know if that is working. And hopefully everyone can see that now.
Yes, we can see that, Amanda. Thank you.
So yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the MyTax programs that are available to you. So just high level, before I get too far into the details, what I really want you to take away from this is that MyTax is here to build collaborations between academic partners and non-academic partners in Canada. So we're here to help build new relationships, provide funding for those relationships, make connections for you, and just help get the really cool work that you're doing in the labs out of the lab to work more directly with external partners in different businesses and different spaces. So what MyTax does is we really help work with both companies and not-for-profits to work together to stretch their dollars a little bit farther when they want to partner with university researchers. The idea is that by providing this additional funding, we can get them access to a bigger budget. It makes it a little bit easier to hire a few more students on a project. Highly technical expertise is often available at the universities in places and in spaces where you can't often find them. A lot of the AI research, a lot of very cutting edge medtech research is not really going on outside of the university. So it's nice to be able to connect them with those resources internally and tap into that network with MyTax across Canada. So I am one member of our business development team. There are more than 100 of us all across Canada working in every different university, province, and a few in a large industry partnerships as well. We really work hard to work with different universities and different partners to make those connections and kind of find more ways to work together across Canada. We also partner with other funding organizations. So I've worked closely with Joel Adams before. It's nice to see him here from the Innovation Advisor space. We do projects with NSERC. We work with different partners all across Canada as well to just make sure that we can leverage the funding as best we can to help you build your project and build more partnerships. And this graph, I really like this graphic. And so this is a representation of some of the projects that we've done in the past. MyTax has worked with more than 5,000 different professors and more than 5,000 different companies and partners across Canada, building a large number of connections between those different groups and providing capital to help them build out their projects. So kind of getting into the weeds a little bit more, what MyTax is here to do is help facilitate collaborations between universities, and external partners. And we do that by providing funding for research interns to kind of work between those two groups. So spending time with an external partner, spending time with the university lab, and going back and forth between those two to kind of help build a project and help build a research collaboration. Most of the work that we do is with businesses, is with small and medium enterprises, but we can also work with nonprofit organizations across Canada, so different not-for-profit partners. We also can do projects where they're sponsored by a hospital, so a hospital can provide funding to help hire interns for projects, as well as municipalities. So say the region of Waterloo, for example, has done projects with us before where they're hiring students to work on their research projects. We also can work with students basically all across the board. So undergrad, master's, PhD, postdoc, sometimes recent graduates, you're all eligible to work on MyTech's projects and get funding from us to help build out a proposal. Really, most of our funding tends to be a 50-50 split. So almost always it's a one-to-one match for us where there's funding for salary support for students, as well as some money for research expenses. Sometimes there's a better leverage on different, if you combine it with NSERC or you're doing some other programs, but most of the time you're looking at kind of a one-to-one in terms of the funding that's available here. One of the nice things with MyTech is you can build bigger, larger projects from these kind of small one-unit things. So we sometimes start with kind of, 1 4-month summer internship. Somebody's doing a co-op project, somebody's kind of building their own startup. They can start from there. They can kind of have those small buy-ins, or they can build bigger, longer-term projects. We're not restricted to working with certain disciplines or certain universities, so you can combine different partners together. Maybe if you have not-for-profit partners and they don't have the funding to do a big project on their own, you can combine a few of them together to work on a project. You can build them into one kind of application working together. Or maybe you need to pull from multiple different areas of expertise. So you have an AI component, you have a user experience component, maybe you have a clinical trials component. You can work with all of those different research groups and all of those different partners together to help build out kind of more complex and larger projects. One of the really nice things for us is that because we're discipline agnostic, we can work with any department and any kind of faculty. We've had projects with English majors, we've had projects with psychology, all the way through to kind of the engineering and more STEM-focused projects that we see a lot of. And we do these connections through a lot of different programs. So I don't want to get too far into the weeds into kind of all of the different things that we can do. Almost all of these programs are different ways of building those collaborations. So whether it is through kind of research projects, partnering at a small company with a university professor to kind of work together to build a project, or whether it is more of our international university funding, we're really all about kind of finding different ways to build these collaborations and build these kinds of projects. I wanted to spend a little bit of time on Accelerate quickly, just because this is the one we do the most. Accelerate is our research proposals where you can apply with a university supervisor and a company supervisor basically together to build out a research project. They do have about a 95% success rate on these. We work with you through the application process to make sure that you're a good fit for the program, to help you write the proposal. We work with the draft review, and we do all those things with you to make sure that when you're putting in these applications and doing these projects, it's a good use of your time, right? So one of the first things you can do with MyTech is, because we're all across Canada, because we're with every different university and every different industry, feel free to reach out and have a conversation with us about what you think your project might be, what kind of things you're interested in doing, and we're happy to have a chat with you about whether it's a fit right now, how to manage that in the best way for the program, and make sure that when you apply that you have that good chance of success for the funding to go forward. One sub-program of the Accelerate program that I wanted to really highlight with this group, because it might be of interest, is we actually have a special pot of funding put aside for entrepreneur students who can fund themselves. So essentially what this is it's matching funds for a student to pay for their own R&D for their project. So we give additional cash contributions to founders and co-founders at early stage companies run by students to help them build out their R&D runway, to help them commercialize their research. As long as you're doing a research project, you have a university professor involved kind of helping you out on the research side, and you need an incubator or an accelerator to help you commercialize that project. The reason we're bringing in those incubators and accelerators is because normally, like I said, we have a company and we have a professor kind of sitting on either side of the proposal. In this case, because the student is the entrepreneur, we're just bringing in the incubator to help support those business activities. So making sure that you have somebody for mentorship to help introduce you to VCs, make sure you're doing all those other pieces that you need to do for the business, as well as getting that research support from the university. So this is a really nice opportunity for any kind of student founders to take money that they're getting from other sources. So maybe bootstrap money, maybe competition funding, other sources of funding, and put it through MyTech to essentially double the money that they're getting. So there's a chance there to leverage that through us again, and then get it back as a salary to pay for their own R&D. So it just allows them to kind of take your research that you're doing in a lab and get it out of the lab a little bit to focus on your company. And for that, again, you really just need that matching funds. So the minimum match for us is basically $5,000. That's kind of your starting point for a project. Again, it can be bootstrapped, can be competitions, can be from other VC sources. If that's sort of the starting point for us to build out funding to match for a project. Another program that might be of particular interest to some of this group is we also have travel award funding. So if you are an early stage startup company working with a university linked incubator like Velocity, like Creative Destruction Lab, like any of the university linked incubators that we have, including some of the groups here, it's up to $5,000 to help you go to international locations and help you meet with clients, meet with potential VCs, and kind of get that opportunity to build your business outside of Canada. It's a nice kind of straightforward way to get that in place. We have a lot of companies that use it to, say, go to Silicon Valley and pitch to investors down there, or go to the UK and meet with a potential supplier for a project. So there's a lot of chances for them just to use this for travel expenses. It's not a huge pot of money, but it's $5,000 to help with that travel. So airplane tickets, hotels, any kind of thing you need to do to get to that location. You need an incubator again to support you in Canada, and then an incubator there just to help you out while you're local to make sure you get a good experience out of that trip. And I wanted to give one example. It was really nice to see Gwen earlier from Fluid AI. They're one of our former partners that we're working with right now. So we actually started with them under our entrepreneur program. So one of their co-founders was a master's student in a nanotech lab at Waterloo. We funded their master's degree through MyTech, so we gave them money to help them build out their own research. And then as the company continued to grow, they've continued to partner with us to hire other students on different aspects of the work that they're doing. So it gives them access to the specialized equipment that there is on campus, some of the expertise in the labs that they've sort of spun out of, and they can continue to work with those professors in different projects. So they started off with that one student, one summer sort of project for their master's student. And they now are working with more than 20 students at 5 different universities right now with us. So there's more than $100,000 a year that they're getting right now every year to kind of help them build their team and kind of collaborate more with the universities. So, we're really here to help in any way that we can to help you build your businesses. We can help stretch your budget, connect you with other student talent, different universities, different partners. Small projects to large projects, we're pretty agnostic, which is nice, and kind of help you facilitate those connections to other partners. So we do want to thank our funding partners. So we are funded by the federal government as well as a number of provincial organizations and groups. And I have my contact information here. I'm happy to chat with anyone who's interested in learning more about the funding, or I can connect you with somebody local to your area if you have sort of more specific detailed questions about your university. So I will leave it there and be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Amanda, for that great presentation on MyTax. MyTax is such a wonderful partner for the innovation ecosystem, many benefits for institutions, companies, startups, and trainees. So thank you so much for sharing. Okay, I think we are now going to move on to our second intermission. So round 2 judges need to deliberate so that we can then move ahead with sort of the final announcement of our winners this evening. And so we're going to take another short intermission, and this time we're going to take 10 minutes. So I think we're going to look to come back at about 7:20 for the announcement of our winners. So if everybody just wants to mute themselves, and you can stop your videos, and we'll see everybody back at 7:20. Thank you. Hi, no problem.
Thank you for your patience.
No problem.
There's a lot of
at all.
discussion.
Yeah, well, there was some really great pitches this evening. I
Yes.
don't envy the judge's job
Tough
trying
decision.
to choose our winners. Yeah, so welcome back, everyone. We have now come to the final part of our event where we announce the pitch winners. I'm going to ask Rebecca Gold, our program specialist for the Proteus program, to announce this year's winners. Rebecca, over to you.
Okay. Drum roll, if you please. For the Western technology, it is AquaFem Innovators. So well done, AquaFem. For the Laurier technology, the winner is VR Evangelists. Well done, VR evangelists. And for the Windsor technology, it is team sleep. Well done, team sleep. And now for the Waterloo technology, the winner is Seal Safe. Well done. And for the McMaster technology, it is the firm. Well done, the firm. Well done. And then last but not least, we need to announce the Audience Choice Award. And the Audience Choice Award is for, I can see it says $5,000, but it's only 1,000, sorry. It's false advertising, it's definitely only 1,000. The winner is BioGuard. So well done, BioGuard. Okay.
Thank you, Rebecca. And congratulations to our winning teams. And really, congratulations to all the teams this evening for making it to the finale. So that is a huge accomplishment in itself. I hope everyone had a wonderful experience as part of their Proteus journey. And on behalf of all of our Proteus partners, we would like to thank you for attending our virtual live pitch finale and showing your support for our 9th annual Proteus competition. We hope you enjoyed the pitches, and we look forward to seeing you all next year when we celebrate our 10-year anniversary of fostering innovation and entrepreneurship. Thank you everyone so much, and wishing you all a wonderful evening. Bye for now.